Welcome back, everybody. We've already got that little beginning feel of Pluto and Aquarius. I'm excited. I hope you enjoyed last week's edition of Soul Lightwork. I'm Sue Ann Dayton, and everyone is welcome here. If you remember, go ahead and hit like, subscribe, make comments. It's going to help progress this information along in the algorithms. So all your help is greatly appreciated. So today, as the title mentioned, through Human Design, I'm going to share with you my journey of deconditioning. And in a moment or two, I'd like to put up my personal chart because I have quite a few undefined areas in it. And in fact, let's do that now. So as you can see, I am a manifesting generator. My throat is defined, which is the brown square above the white diamond. And underneath that is my sacral area, which is red and defined. And that's where I become that manifesting generator. I have that whole channel of the charisma going from that little box that says 34 up to the little box that says 20. And then that's attached to my root through the channel of concentration. And again, for those of you new to human design, let's go over the black is my conscious side of my chart, which is my personality, who I think I am. And the red is the design, which is the unconscious aspect to the chart. And that's what other people see in me. I'm not aware of it, but people they'll notice it and they might even point it out. And all the different planets that are affected. But today we're going to focus on the aspects of going through deconditioning. And if you use your strategy and authority correctly, you're going to find these undefined centers as learning areas that you're going to learn the most and even maybe potentially gain some wisdom. So I'm most familiar with my own areas. If we begin at the very top of my chart, that little triangular area at the head area, mine is actually, see, there's no black or anything hanging directly from the numbers up there. So mine is not only undefined, but it's completely open and undefined. What that means is a couple of things, is that perhaps one, only 30% of the population in human design has it defined. So mine being open leads me to a not self situation, heavily conditioned. Everything that's white is heavily conditioned, where I have constantly having thoughts go through my mind, nonstop, all the time, thinking. And once I was aware of that, does it really matter? The defined people are here to offer up their thoughts, and we take inspiration later from them also. So this is a pressure area in the human body design chart. The head is a pressure area and the root is a pressure. We're like a pressurized sandwich. So there's a lot of pressure put on thinking. And again, remember, the mind is not in charge. So that's the not self of me. I feel that pressure that I need to know something. The triangle underneath that is the Ajna, and that's where inspiration comes from. So if you're around people that have it defined, you're inspired. And you often think that these inspirations or thoughts are yours, but really you're reading off the other person or the transit of the day. Things happen every day with the transits. Everything keeps moving. But then I come across, in my not self that, well, I'm sure of what I said. Well, or what I thought. No. Just like feeling pressure to have to come up with answers. I'm feeling that pressure from the head also. A very wise doctor taught me many years ago in my medical career that he said to me, Swan, he goes, I don't know is an answer, because I felt that pressure that I had to come up with something, right? So moving below that beautiful white diamond underneath that throat that's defined. And that white diamond is called the G center. And that is our center of purpose and our identity and love coming from within. Now, as you can see, no gates. I have no gates. Doesn't mean I don't love. Doesn't mean I don't have a purpose. I certainly do. Everybody does. And the identity, this is where I most had resonance with not having it defined. As a young girl, little girl, I was amongst different people. I'm thinking, who do they want me to be? Always trying to figure out, for that feeling of love that I'll be who they want me to be. I'm looking for love, be who they want me to be. And the reality is I don't have to be anybody, or I can be everybody. A lot of your actors have undefined centers of the G center. Therefore, they can be any character they want to be, right? I think of Meryl Streep. You're immersed in whoever she is in the movie because she becomes that person. Someone that's very consistent with a defined G center is John Wayne. John Wayne is John Wayne off the screen, on the screen. His persona is who he is. He shows up as himself. Now, being undefined, I can also mirror to the person that I'm talking to or involved with or meet. I'm actually mirroring, if they have a defined aspect to their identity, them. So I'm mirroring back to them who they are. And it's really fun. So with undefined open areas like this, sometimes you can even gain wisdom. I mean, I know so many different ways that people are that I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. And as you look at that diamond, there's a little white triangle, has a little black thing hanging off of it, but that little one to the right of the screen, that's the heart and the ego area. That's where I needed to know not to promise what I cannot fulfill. It definitely has a will and can complete things. If it says it's going to do it, it's going to do it. It's also an area for me and others that are undefined that you think you have to prove yourself to anyone and everyone, and even importantly, yourself. And oh, those were the hoops I jumped through in my lifetime. My goodness. I had to prove I was good enough to everybody, ultimately proving it to myself. And I have. I'm always good enough. Always. To the other side of the screen, below and to the left, as you're looking at the image of that red box, which is the sacrum, the motor that goes and goes and goes, is the spleen. Now, mine is undefined, as you can see, and the spleen is that awareness center that has to do with intuitiveness. The people that have it defined get a little touch on their shoulder. If I was with someone who was defined going to maybe an evening out and we were going to stop and get a drink or something, and as we're heading to that facility and they say, you know what, nah, I don't want to go there, I would listen to them if I knew they were defined. Absolutely. Now the next day that feeling may be gone and they feel good about it because they didn't have the little tap, but at that moment in time I'm going to follow them. And with me, in a presence of somebody that has defined, again, other people, you feed off their energy, and because you're open to that energy, especially if you have a gate, like in my case, if someone's got the other end of that gate, the full channel, it's going to define my spleen. And in their company, it makes me feel safe, very safe in that person's company. The not self aspect to myself, with it being open like that, I may not know when to walk away from somebody that's really not good for me, or a job that's not good for me. And this has to deal with the immune system. So I can speak firsthand. Stayed too long in relationships, really did some damage for my immune system because all these centers kind of warrant different areas of the body, the biochemistry or the biodynamics. And that can be addressed at another time because it's fascinating. Everything is there. Everything's there. So be conscious of that if that's an undefined in you. The other area to the other side of that red square is the solar plexus emotional system. Now, this was a huge, huge benefit for me to come into this knowledge because I have modified and realized the joy of being around people who are defined. It's their natural flow. They flow in waves. Their emotions are up and down, very individualistic, or it's collective, or it's tribal, depending on what gates or channels are activated. Now, I have a lot of hanging gates, so there's a lot of ways I can be activated emotionally. Now, here's the important part. When anybody has an open area, pretty much you will magnify the individual that's defined. So they're not your emotions that you're magnifying, but you certainly are magnifying theirs. They can be simply sharing with you a simple story with their little feelings about it at the moment that are very important to listen to. And yet I may come back, well, what about what? I'm gonna magnify whatever's being shared on that normal flow of their emotion. I'm gonna magnify it 300%. So what happens to me is I get really ramped up and I really it takes a toll on the energy and just feeling that, because without being in anybody's presence, I do have feelings, but it's not routinely dealt with. I wasn't designed to deal with it on a regular basis. So that can profoundly affect me. Now, the areas that are defined in me do also have not self aspects. The throat, if it's totally open, and I have family members and other acquaintances that I'm aware that theirs is totally open. And there's two ways I've noticed this goes. Primarily, the throat is for manifesting and emotions, expressing yourself, sharing information so that things can get done and dealt with. But when it's open, the person that is open, again, they're going to magnify. So they're going to want to be seen. It's kind of like a projection, see me, listen to me, hear me. And they're not going to feel that they've been heard often. So they're going to talk more and more and more. Now, I'm a talker. I've got that channel that goes right from the motor to my mouth. But they're going to talk maybe sometimes inappropriately and not be aware of when they should stop talking. Um, it's very difficult. They want that recognition. On the other hand, sometimes when it's open, those people literally don't know what to say, so they won't talk that much. Um, yeah. Again, the conditioning of family and society that you've got to talk. You're supposed to talk in class, right? You're called upon, and you're like put on the spot. Very uncomfortable for those that aren't defined. In addition, if we move on to the red square down below that dark and brown area, that's the throat, is the sacral. And I've talked about that, the motor. Now, when it's open for people, like projectors, they're open, manifestors are open. Now, it's good to be in the energy field of someone that's defined like me, because we're fun and we give that boost of energy, and you feel that excitement and you get picked up on it. But the challenge for the person that has that opened area is they don't know when enough is enough. And they don't know when to, you know, they have a natural time in their body that says, okay, you're done for the evening, you need to rest now. But they'll keep going, they'll be talking, stay a while longer, and they will. Or the children, I think of often, this is about our children, that are in sports that have the undefined center, and they've got all these energizer, generators around them. Go, go, go. I'm thinking of football in particular. And they can become absolutely exhausted. You know, they they want to be part of what's going on. Or they come home after a hard practice, and even though they're tired, they're still amped up, and maybe they're living with generators. So everybody's going to, have dinner and talk about their day and maybe watch a movie and want you to be involved. And if they pass that point of their natural body, it's tough. It's tough for them to sleep well. In fact, really, for them, they need to go to bed, at their normal time and unwind, read a book. Um, don't stay on a computer that's going to keep you amped up, or play video games that's going to keep you amped up. You need to kind of just start to wind down in a quiet manner, some music that's soft, and just kind of count back, a little reading that's calming you, and let that energy go. And finally, we have the other pressure aspect, the pressure sandwich piece is the root, that brown square at the bottom. That is pulsic. And people that are undefined with that pulsing energy, they feel the pressure to get things done in a hurry. I have a relative that how it manifests in them is he needs speed. He gets in the car and he wants to go. He feels the pressure, like, gotta get there, let's go. And he speeds. But other people, they have to hurry up and get it done because they don't they don't have any relief in the pressure, even though it pulsates. It's pretty much always on and off for them. They feel it and they feel the need. So all of these areas are so important in the human design body graph, and even the defined areas have aspects of the not self. Um, how we're raised, and even though we may come into this world at a specific way to speak or think or talk or do, There still can be some shadowing there, you know. Like for me to have, now that I'm aware of my defined root center, can recall around people now, looking back, I've even done a couple of their charts, coworkers, that the projector, poor projector, had an open root and working in a very dynamic, high pressure department where you needed to go from patient to patient to patient and complete your task. There was so much pressure put on those poor people. You know, hurry up and get it done. Come on. You know, and they, you know, I inadvertently probably put pressure on some of them unknowingly, either by my presence or just the energy. Like I felt they needed to, you know, you're gonna get that exam done so I can use your room. You know, that was one way I probably put pressure on people unknowingly at the time, but it definitely was pressure felt. All right, so I wanted to wrap that up. I do have some time that I wanted to share some of my own personal deconditioning stories with you, and that's what everybody wants to know. Well, how does this work? You know, and everybody keeps telling them directly, you know, follow your strategy and authority, and I've got a lot of fellow generators that feel frustrated when they hear that. And what I found is the truth to this feeling of frustration is you're still in your mind. You're still in your mind. And it's learning to practice and awaken that response in your sacral. And I can only address generators at this point because that's my experience. But as a generator, I really am cognizant and intentional now when something hits me. It may hit me emotionally. And me being undefined, it's like, okay, is this conditioning? And when I know I'm using my mind, but again, that's my response was, oh, well, that was a no, obviously, if it was a question, but all of the information on top of that response is from my mind and how I felt. Or again, feeling unworthy or trying to prove myself if the response was triggered, you know, there's different areas that get triggered of my undefined self. So again, that statement of when using your, I'll repeat it, when using your strategy and authority correctly, your undefined centers begin to open up as learning areas. And they're so valuable and insightful. And the other reality for me, as I was told in my initial reading by Richard Beaumont, I don't have to prove myself in this lifetime. I don't have to. I don't have to come up with the ideas. I don't have to be the inspiration for others. If that's a side benefit, awesome. Awesome. Um, my spleen, you know, I have to learn and have been learning. I had a near-death experience due to complete kidney failure, and that was I realized completely I was living in my not self life. Definitely not walking away when things were not good for me in relationships. And that affected my immune system. Hanging on to beliefs that are no longer true for me. That's from that open head. You know, am I rigid in my thinking and my beliefs because of how I was conditioned? Let it go. I've let it go. I don't have to have the answer. I'm open. I'm open to what the G center, which is also open, it still leads me where I'm supposed to be. You know, so learning from that near death experience is let go of the struggle, know that the universe has your back and that the monopole will lead you if you just get out of your own way where you need to be. It will keep bringing people or circumstances for me to respond to. Have the faith to let go of that struggle because those open centers bring so much pain. And we're making incorrect decisions because we're doing it with the mind. So, again, the importance of being correct for your own authority, be it the sacral or the emotional or splenic, or even the different forms of projectors. There's even some called sounding boards. They have all this definition in their mind and their ajna in their throat, and everything else is open, but it's still not their mind that makes a decision. They're sounding their outside talking. It's outside authority. They talk it out, express what they're thinking for decisions, and they have other people to bounce off their ideas from. I encourage all of you to go through to the International Human Design School. There's a lot of free material to go over these centers as to what I talked about today and what they are and how it affects you, and look at your body chart and your body graph and figure it out, and read again the Linda Bunnell book that's put through the International Human Design School is highly recommended. Richard Beaumont's YouTube channel has a vast amount of information. He was direct student of Ra. He's been doing it close to 25 years. He's been through what, three cycles, going on the next cycle for deconditioning. He's an expert, and value his opinion. And he's a wonderful reader of charts too. He's still doing them occasionally, so check it out. I thank you for checking me out today. I appreciate every like, comment, subscription. And again, ultimately, love yourself, and bye for now.